Welcome. I'm Bob Thompson, and I'd like to welcome you to the Philanthropic Planner program. We've been putting this program on for a little bit more than 10 years, over 100 programs, and people ask me, why are you doing this stupid thing? I mean, philanthropy is boring, boring, boring. And I keep saying, it's one of my distractions, one of my passions to promote philanthropy, so you're going to have to suffer with this a little bit more. I've got a couple things that I want to share with you, and one of them is the title, and we struggle with the title. This program's title is The Sweet Taste of Philanthropy, Holiday Chocolates. Now, I had to fight to get things out of the office. We have Ghirardelli chocolates, we have Ferraro, and we have delicious caramel. We have chocolates galore. And the sweet taste of philanthropy somehow has to fit in with this. So welcome, the sweet taste of philanthropy. Now, I've got a problem with the Chronicle this time. If you noticed, it's the cities where philanthropy matters. And I've got a problem with that. I think it's not the cities where philanthropy matters, it's cities and towns. Cities and towns. Now here, the Chronicle and their staff, they're looking to Tulsa, Oklahoma, Denver. They're looking at large cities, Columbus, Ohio, where philanthropy matters. Come on, give me a break. Cities and towns, philanthropy matters to towns, small communities. Philanthropy is needed everywhere. And that's part of the reason that we have this program. I want to share with you a little bit of that philosophy on small towns and philanthropy matters. But first, let me say that part of the motivation here is you don't have to be a multi-millionaire to be a philanthropist. We talk about volunteering, we talk about gifting in small ways. If I gift, I'm a philanthropist. And we can collectively make an impact that it matters on not just large cities, but on small towns. We talk about legalese. We try to simplify the complexity a little bit. We talk about capacity. Do I have the capacity to give? And I want to spend a few minutes on the program today on how this kind of swings back and forth. I'm in a good market. The market yesterday went up 1,000 points. Today, when I left the office, it's down 500. So I'm in and out of this perception of capacity, and you need, in most cases, you need professional advice from your attorney or your accountant, financial planner, or what have you, to look at this gray area, this nebulous area of capacity. Do I have the capacity to give? I want to, okay, but do I have the capacity? The other thing is related to capacity, but we also struggle with a small s. We also struggle with, in many cases, if not most cases, with I want to have a legacy. I want to protect the family legacy and be sure that my family, when I pass, receives maybe all of my estate. And we have to couple capacity during life with this desire, this wish of family legacy protection. And we have to combine those when we're talking about capacity. The last program that we had, or maybe the previous one before that, we talked quite a bit about holding a large asset. And in this case, it was Cigna. And we had two examples, real case examples in the valley here of a lady having almost $1.3 million of Cigna stock, and another gentleman who not inherited, where he got a stepped-up basis on this Cigna stock, but it was gifted to him from his father back years ago, over 5 years, where he too has over $1.2 million in Cigna stock. Now, unexpectedly, and I know that now that my mother's passed, I don't know if there's anyone else that watches these programs, but it's amazing to me that we received 7 or 8 responses by people who also have not just highly appreciated assets, but also had, coincidentally, Cigna stock. That $1.3 million and $1.2 million, the annual dividend was less than $300. In the lady's case, almost $1.3 million, $237 in dividends in her 2017 tax return. $237, not monthly, not weekly, not daily, annual dividends for this $1.3 million stock. So we talked about laddering charitable gift annuities over the next 5 years. Not all of it, but $100,000 each year for 5 years. That's $500,000 or 500 shares, okay? Gifting that and putting that into a charitable gift annuity. And what that meant for this young lady, starting off the first year at 7.8% guaranteed lifetime income from a non-dividend generating asset. In the meantime now, she only takes a small part of it, but the rest of it I'm assuming is going to continue to grow. So the asset will be similar to that, but she's going to generate from that first step, that first year, 7.8%. The second year, 7.9%. The third year, 8%. Guaranteed lifetime income. If she lives to 105 or 110, she will receive from this charitable gift annuity that percentage of lifetime income. So it was interesting that we had a response there. One of the half a dozen or so responses was from a younger gentleman, and he said, Bob, I appreciate, and I was fascinated with your show about Cigna stock. I also have quite a bit of Cigna stock. I worked for the firm for 23, 24 years, as I recall, and I don't see me getting a charitable gift annuity at my age, okay? He is 59 or 60, I believe. And we ended up talking about a donor advised fund and looking at tax returns that he is charitably inclined. And with his philanthropy each year, instead of gifting cash, instead of gifting maybe a mutual fund, but mostly cash with these tax returns, how about some shares of Cigna stock and getting the deduction and not having a capital gains, a realized taxable long-term capital gain impact. And it was interesting how that conversation kind of evolved and centered around that program about the low dividend on Cigna stock. So I share that with you. One of interest that maybe we do have more than one viewer, and two, that it resonated the way it did with a particular stock. Now, we have other examples of low cost basis with Apple stock or Microsoft. And in my case, the famous lawnmower and my story about Toro stock that I have, and how many times it split, and how this little piece of Toro stock ends up being substantially greater, and we put that into a charitable remainder unit trust. Now, those stories are ways that when we take the idea, the question, the problem that needs to be addressed and solved on capacity, do I have capacity? Well, in the case of the charitable gift annuity and the laddering, I'm taking care of my lifetime income free cash flow needs, and I'm protecting the nest egg in case I have the next stage of perhaps long-term care needs and nursing home needs or what have you. I'm protecting that, but I'm also satisfying during life my mission to support whatever charity or charities it is. So I share that with you because I'm finding out that there are people that have highly appreciated asset, and we suggest not contributing in cash, okay, but this highly appreciated asset in lieu of, okay. We had a lady that said that she was going to cancel a life insurance policy, and she had been contacted by a charity, and in their little brochure, flyer, and right at the bottom, kind of an afterthought was, do you have an old life insurance policy that you would like to gift? So there are other ways of gifting during life and satisfying this wish, this desire to help the charity, and doing it with assets that that life insurance policy is not paying her any income. And she said that she didn't need the death benefit, that she has other assets and so on, but it was a nice tool, a nice gift of gifting, at least considering. Now, to be fair, disclosure-wise, I don't know that she actually has gifted that policy. When we evaluated it, it was an attractive gift, $25,000 whole life, participating with dividends and so on. She had dividend additions that added cash value and so on. It was a nice asset to consider gifting. But let's get back to when we put these programs on. We have a lot of people that say, Bob, I would like to do more. I would like to do more if I could. That's the capacity. I would like to do more if I knew how. And that's these various tools that we just talked about. I would like to do more if I knew how. Well, if we have other donors, friends, neighbors, associates, classmates, whatever, that share what they're doing, and a lot of the brochures, Stelter and Pantera and some of these people that work with the development offices of our charities, they're very polished brochures, oftentimes with a little dog or a kitten. That always touches your heart, but it is, how can I do more and help our nonprofit in the meantime? So that's part of the reason that we put on the program. We found out that over the years, 10 years of programming on identified or disclosed gifts, and what the development people will call expectancies. That's where someone has said, I've included you in my will, I've included you in my charitable trust or what have you. That we have identified expectancies between $16 and $17 million. That's a lot. And what development people will say is that expectancies only represent a smaller percentage of what we actually receive. American Cancer Society for years has talked about charitable bequests from wills, and the revenue generated to American Cancer Society being 42%, 44% in some years and so on. Those are from a large part unknowns, and a lot of those come from these realized gifts, these testamentary bequests that are realized. A lot of these come from donors who have supported, in this case, American Cancer Society, I'll make an example, from donors that have gifted $25, $100 a year for years and years and years. So we look at how can I become a philanthropist? You are. Volunteerism is at an all-time high today. We're concerned about, and going back to this article, where cities where philanthropy matters, I still have a tough time with that. Towns, communities where philanthropy matters. We need to look at ways of supporting our local charities. And we talked in the last program about the Job and Tax Cut Act that we had this last year. Where is that hurting philanthropy? Is that hurting charities? Well, we have some studies. The Lilly Family School out in Indianapolis, some of their research is that perhaps it will affect charities by 5%. Well, when we do the math on the impact of something like that, because charity and philanthropy is not driven, like a lot of people feel, is not driven by taxes, pro or con, up or down or whatever. But they're saying that a small percent in their research, 5%. Well, if we take 5% impact, a negative impact on charity because of the Jobs and Tax Cut Act, that 5% represents over $200 million. And a lot of that $200 million is for smaller charities. It's not for the mega gifts that the Harvards and Yales receive for their ever-growing endowments. So we need to be concentrating on a local level on the importance of charity. I'm asked at my Saturday Read the Journal and Barron magazine at Brookside Bagel for an hour and a half on Saturday mornings. I have a couple that have asked me, this is absolutely true, not just in the last week or two, but over the last year and a half, I've had two people ask me, hey, I see your, in one case, I see your baloney on TV. And I took that in a light way, but tell me, who do you gift to? And I thought, boy, that's a pretty ballsy thing, who do I personally gift to? And then more recently, within the last month or two, another question like, maybe you should share who your gifting goes to. So I thought, well, out of my last 12 gifts, and this is toward the end of the year, we're almost at the end of the year, Karen pulled me out of a nice sleep and said, hey, your TV taping's tomorrow, kind of thing. Okay, so here's 8 out of my 12 gifts that I made this year. The other 4 that I'm not sharing are more personal, but maybe someday I'll share those also. One is to Ohio Northern University, my undergrad degree in government political science and comparative government in undergrad, and my law school alma mater. So Ohio Northern University has been for the last 80, 90, 105 years a part of my gifting. Hillsdale College. Hillsdale College I gift to because about 24 years ago, I started a subscription to Imprimis. Now, at that time, they were publishing and distributing 300,000 subscribers, grew to 500,000, 800,000. This last one that I received last month, 3.9 million readers of Imprimis. I contribute to Hillsdale. I didn't go to school there, but I like their publication. I did get some hard knocks in a football game, Ohio Northern playing Hillsdale, but I don't know. We did wear helmets back then, but they were leather, and you get punchy from that. But another one, Heritage Foundation. I send a gift to Heritage Foundation because, again, going back to my government political science and law degree, I like the publications and speakers that the Heritage Foundation, and I kind of have in the back of my head the Federalist Papers and James Madison and number 10 talking about participative politics, which I am enjoying some of the things that are evolving, that we're more politically involved, which is good. But food bank, I think the food bank is very important for the small town, the small community. And my mother, God bless her, at age 92, a couple of days before she passed, spending time at the church, distributing money to the food bank and to the needy. Healing meals, bringing back locally. I've talked about healing meals in the last program and the good that they are doing. And I came across a program that we filmed in 2016, just a couple of years ago, when Healing Meals started, and was being modeled after Sarah's sister in California. And I think the unbelievable story of Healing Meals deserves your and my support. And a great story, and they're expanding. Their growth has been phenomenal, and the good that they're providing the community is phenomenal. AIP Foundation, the Advisors in Philanthropy Foundation out of Miami, Florida. Their administrator is here in Connecticut. But the Foundation for Advisors in Philanthropy provides scholarships for advisors. We need a growing critical mass of advisors, professional advisors that are certified, educated in the greater area of philanthropy. We have a lot of advisors out there, and I make a comment about a very good friend of mine who's got a fair-sized accounting firm in Missouri, and I suggested to him that he should have a seminar because I knew that he had like 340, 350 physicians as clients, tax clients. He does tax returns, and he said, well, no, my clients aren't charitably inclined. And I'm thinking we could randomly pull out files of his tax clients and see where the gifting of $5, $10, $20, $30,000 from these clients that are not philanthropically inclined. So I said, Harold, you're full of it. Judicial Watch. Freedom of Information Act, I don't want to get into journalism and what the Fourth Estate that I criticize a little bit, that we should be doing more to protect society and protect our country. But Judicial Watch taking advantage, using the Freedom of Information Act to uncover some things that you and I should know, and I support Judicial Watch because of that. I think it's a very important organization. Simsbury Community TV. I don't know how they made the list, but they're one of the 8 that I want to share with you. I think Simsbury Community TV, providing programs of town council, zoning council, of sports, of programs of speakers that have messages for the local community. I think in the three channels that we can access, that there's an incredible benefit to the community. So I'd encourage everyone that can have the capacity, write out a check to Simsbury Community TV. You know, back when we started taping these, it was very restrictive. Time-wise, your taping had to conform with this and that, and we tried to share our programs with a couple of other community TV programs, and if we didn't fit the mold and the pattern, we couldn't take your taping and so on. What's amazing today, we have clients, our firm, in 31 states, and a number of clients have said, hey, I hear about your TV program. Can we access it? And it's interesting that from South Carolina to Scottsdale, Arizona to Florida, that we have some people say, hey, you're crazier than hell, but you have fun in doing it, and you're presenting a message that we think is important, not only for your community and the Farmington Valley and as a whole, but to their community. And if we can share what donors and philanthropists in Minnesota do, I think that Give 5 history, for example. We need to talk more about ways of giving, painless ways of giving, and ways that make sense to the heart, but also make sense to our pocketbook. That we need to promote a meaningful dialogue of the importance of philanthropy to not just big cities, but to small towns and communities. We struggle with our titles, but I thought the sweet taste of philanthropy, holiday chocolates. I'd like to also share with you some recent things that caught my eye. Our last program was titled Giving Tuesday in November, and my thought is every day should be Giving Tuesday. We should be thinking more about what we can do. Walking just a couple days ago past 3 or 4 salvation pots and putting a few dollars into each one of those. These are volunteers that are out there collecting monies on the Christmas holiday for the good of the community and those that are in need. But on Giving Tuesday, he gave 1,085 fire victims $1,000 each. Now, all of us were aware of the horrendous, the terrible fire in Paradise, California, just outside of Chico, California. And here's a gentleman, Wilson, I believe his name is, Bob Wilson, a businessman, started writing out $1,000 checks, and it went from 5 and 10 and 20. He wrote 1,085 fire victims $1,000 check. This is how the sweet taste of philanthropy starts to take over and say, I have the capacity, I want to do good, I can do good, and he started writing out these checks. Here's a gentleman who has an interesting story, Scott Mckay Lee, a divorced gentleman, but for the last 33 years has had a dinner that grew from 12 originally 30 some years ago to between 60 and 100, where he provides the dinner at no cost. Now here's a Hartford Courant page that not only had 1 article, but 3 articles. 1 on environmental, 2 regarding that tax law change that I talked about, and 3, Jay Williams, the new president of the Hartford Foundation of Public Giving, talking about the good that the Hartford Foundation does, and that we should know more about the greater Hartford community of 22, 24 towns. And Jay's a good man, happens to be from Youngstown, Ohio, that I mentioned before. But we want to see you back at another program and write out that check to Simsbury Community TV later.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.